Marcus Erickson here, the Director of Research for the Five Gyres Institute. I'd like to tell you about a recent research paper titled Mitigation Strategies to Reverse the Rising Trend of Plastic in Polar Regions. It's based on an expedition that we did a few years ago, sailing across the Canadian Arctic, looking at impacts of microplastics and macroplastics on the environment, but also in local communities. How do communities, very remote parts of the planet, deal with plastic waste? If you think about all the different kinds of plastics found in the environment, ranging from little pellets to textiles and synthetic fibers, durable goods, single-use plastics, fishing gear, even personal hygiene materials. These things are also found in the Arctic environment, and they come from things like shipping, fishing, tourism. They're floating into the Arctic environment, or they're used by the communities that are there in that part of the world. But if you look at all those materials, you primarily are finding materials in two sectors: fishing gear and single-use plastics. And we found both in the Arctic environment. Lots of fishing gear, little bits of fishing line and torn bits of netting, occasional fishing buoys, but also single-use plastics. Even one Snickers bar wrapper, a candy bar wrapper. What are the impacts of these materials? Well, all these materials are shredding constantly, going from macroplastics down to micro and small particles. Now, the microplastics, there are issues of ingestion, and those particles ingested can carry their own burden of toxicity as they absorb all kinds of compounds, from PCBs to other pesticides, PAHs. All these persistent chemicals will stick to plastics. But then there's also an entanglement issue that happens with macroplastics. Like fishing gear can entangle and strangle marine life, marine mammals, marine reptiles, and seabirds. We want to focus on solutions. Now, one observation that we made in one little small town called Pond Inlet, around population 1,200, what they told us was that they collect and sort those plastics. They did this a few years ago. And what they found was when they had bundled and packaged and sorted all the plastics into different polymers and types, even then, the cost to ship those back to where they can get managed was too expensive. And what we saw was their landfill, where they bury things, was also on fire to incinerate. They wanted to do the right thing, but the economics of reverse logistics did not exist. When we talk about waste management, we know that many communities are burdened with a lot of plastic packaging and products that are on a one-way destination to their community. So one big solution there is to create the policies where the producers of those products and the shipping companies are obligated to take those materials back, so they're not buried or burned or lost out to sea in those remote parts of the Arctic. Some innovative waste management solutions might include, for fishing gear, for example, having port facilities where maritime activities, whether shipping, tourism, or fishing, if they see derelict fishing gear, lost buoys and rope and nets, can bring them back to a port facility where they are collected. And last are innovative packaging and products. There are other kinds of materials like PHA, for example, that are not as persistent as traditional plastics. So those are the things that we want to see happen to mitigate the rising trend of plastics in polar regions.